Good afternoon. This video is for the students of human rights and health policy. I just wanted to remind you that the literature review was due January 31st, but we had a late start and we also had a bunch of students that contracted COVID. So we're going to go ahead and move the date due to February 15th by midnight. And what you'll do is you'll actually be turning in the Excel chart that I'm about to show you and demonstrate how to do a literature review. But you're going to turn that in with your scientific poster. Both things should be emailed to me and sent to me by February 15th at midnight. And just remember that in conducting this literature review, if you're working alone, you need to cite at least 10 sources. And by saying at least, that's, kind of a B quality work. And every cell needs to be filled in that's required. And if you have a group, you need no less than 15. And these can also include articles that you pull from Google Scholar. They can be interviews with key stakeholders on the issue that you're using. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and do make sure if you're in a group that everyone is contributing equally. So this is the tool you'll be using for your literature review. This is going to be a place where you actually collect all the articles and just really keep very crucial information. And this is a literary tool that a lot of master's students use. I've used it in my PhD. It's very useful because you can go back to it and just get to refer to everything. And you have everything there, everything that you really need to know from the sources that you're using to really construct your research. And so we'll call this the literature review database. And again, it's in Excel. If you're doing this individually, you will go ahead and send this file to me individually. But if you're in a group, go ahead and put everyone's name on it, and you only have to send it to me once. But for example, here you can go ahead and see that we're using APA citation formatting, and that's just to get you to practice how to do that. So here you can see it has the last name of the author with a comma, then the initial of the first name with a period. The year that it was published is put into brackets with a period. Then you have the actual title. You have the source it came from and usually the page numbers. There can be more information, but it's just good to keep, just to have that there. Also, if you go ahead and look here in this section, I just kind of copy pasted a lot of what is called the abstract. It's just really the summary that usually comes at the front of a journal article, and it really tells you what this article is about. You could also summarize it in your own words if you want to, or pull from the conclusion. Then I also have who this is actually about. This article, I was doing research on vulnerable or marginalized populations. And so for this case, it was actually the Gypsy or the Roma. Here's the actual URL. So if I clicked and open it up, it should pull me right to that file. And then what I'm hoping is that for each source, you pull at least one statistic. And so for here, it says the percentage of Roma in these different countries of Bulgaria is 8.5%, Hungary is 4.7, etc. So that was a really important point on how big are the populations of Roma in these countries. And then there were more statistics that I found that I thought would be very useful later for my research. And then I get direct quotes, which may not be a statistic, but is an important point that I learned from the main body or from the conclusion, not from the abstract itself. And you need to put at least 2 major quotes in each source. So again, you're supposed to have, if you're an individual, 10 of these just by yourself. And then you need to have every single cell filled in with at least one statistic and at least 2 quotes. And again, Minimum means B effort. Going beyond that, doing 11 or 12 sources means, A effort. If some of the cells are missing, it could lower your grade. And if it's below B quality, I will send it back to you and ask you to improve upon the literature review so that you at least earn a B minus on the task. And again, if you're a group, you're going to have a minimum of 15 sources. And if you're a large group, I'm really hoping that, everyone pulls their weight and really does, try to populate this as much as possible. So how do you actually do a literature review? So one of the wonderful resources that you can use throughout your academic and professional career are professional academic source engines or, just really great places. And one of the best is scholar.google.com or Google Scholar. And so, for example, you can go ahead and put in, your policy topic. Let's say, for example, it's about ending child marriage. Okay, you can go ahead. And what's going to happen about this that's so cool is it's going to pull the top cited articles or what has been seen as like some of the most credible sources. So you can see a lot of these, some of these have been cited up to like 700 times, 86 times. This means that other authors found this source so useful that they actually quoted it in their own research. And that's really a really good indication of a good source to read. Although it's not the only indication of a good source. But for this project, I do want you to really focus on using journal articles and not trying to use newspaper or, blog posts, any of that, just because really I want to give you more experience into doing formal academic research. I always tell people that you probably at least want sources that are, within the last 10 years. So sometimes I'll go ahead and just customize the range and say that the sources need to at least be from 2010 up, and then that way it populates the most relevant, most recent articles. So let's go ahead and look at this. Okay, so there are these different wonderful documents that I can go ahead and research. So I'll go click on the article and it pulls it up right there for me. And if I go down, I can go ahead and likely find, let's try to find, here it is. Here's the forward. It's really going to tell you what this is about. It's going to have the acknowledgement sections, but really if you're looking for the key messages, there's your abstract right there. So that you can just kind of copy paste the first few paragraphs into the document. And what's really cool about Google Scholar is that you don't have to go ahead and try to figure out how to write out the citation. Here are different types of citation. Many of you have been trained in MLA, maybe in Chicago or Harvard style. And you can see the way that it's quoting the article is a little bit different, or this book. But just select APA, copy paste, go back to that literature review, and then you just go ahead and plop it right there, and you can just start filling in the cells for that article. Each one, you shouldn't spend more than about 10 or 20 minutes really going through the article. Again, we're hoping that you're skimming. You're not needing to thoroughly read every single word and sentence. You just want to kind of pull out the main points. You want to kind of briefly look over the article, really read the intro, read some of the meat in the body, and then definitely read the conclusions. And hopefully this helped teach you a little bit about how to do the literature review. Thank you.